the asanas, yes, and how
Yes,
the
all the,
environment that they, yeah.
yes. What influences are in the during while we practice there? And I was just giving a few examples, like the temperature of the room, what we took for breakfast, whatever. You can go much far with that. You can go for whatever. Even the disposition of the planets might influence you while you practice. You know whatever genetics you bring, whatever who were you with before the class. So all of that we know that influences as such as at any moment. So that would be the present reading, because I mentioned the past reading. The present reading is what's right in the moment. Now the future might be a little bit more complicated, because the future, I would say, it has to do more with the tendencies. We called that in the yogic tradition the vasanas, if you want to put it more in this language. But the tendencies, we all have tendencies. We will tend to, the body has tendencies and we have tendencies.
Mm.
We will tend to go more towards one direction or the other. That comes with the past. That is attached with the past. You know, of course, in an ultimate reality, of course, there wouldn't be no time or space or past or future. But I'm just saying, why did I pick these words on the text? A bit more poetic, but you can read the past, the present, and the future in the body. And the future, it would be related with the tendencies. Now, of course, each body is unique. We all know that. If you have 100 students doing one pose, they're never the same. If you have 2 students who practice for years with the same teacher, they're very similar. They might even be twins. They're not the same.
Exactly.
So all of these aspects are influencing. And of course, as you said, also the emotional realm is also there. And that's a very important one, because I do work with the body for many years as a therapist. I do work as an osteopath and all the other therapies, and now also structural integration. But all of those ways of working with the body tells me that there's much more than that, because of course I do look at my biomechanics. It is complex, but it's nothing compared to the mind fields. It's nothing compared to the emotional fields or the somatic, the somatic, it shows in the body, but what causes it, it's much more complex. And so we are working on, in a way, first of all, Anamaya Koshi, if we want to put it in this language, is the dance layer. We are in the body, but the body is not apart from all the other layers. And that's why I sometimes hear some students or practitioners who say the body is not so important if you practice yoga, and it is true. It's not the most important thing. There's much more. There are other realities, or realms or layers, which are more subtle. But it is your first access. Very easy to touch it. It's palpable. I don't know if this is English, palpable, but you can touch it easily. You can see it. It doesn't lie. So all of these aspects are very important. Mind is tricky. You have to be very expert. I'm not an expert in the mind field, I mean, professionally, but I do know a lot of people who are. And I do admire their work, because I just think if the body has all of this complexity, the mind field is way more complex. It's much more difficult to get there. And one of the things that makes it difficult is that your mind will not tell you the truth. It will lie.
Exactly.
A lot of times
it will lie. Yes.
it will interpretate. It will try to make a story, create its own narrative, because everything we say is how we see it. It's not reality. But the body will not say, it will not tell you that. It just tells you reality. So I think it's a really good thing that, and I'm kind of defending asana practice with this. It is very important, but it touches everything else. It's not just physical, it's not just gymnastics. It always touches everything else. That's why when you practice, it feels so good. And the good feeling, it's not the body. It comes from the body, but it makes you feel good. It makes you feel well. It makes you feel at ease. You feel well with others. You have a different connection with yourself in a way. And spending time practicing, going back to asana, again, all the disciplines are very important, not putting that apart. They're very, very important. If you can do more than asana, great. But if you get in touch with the body, you get in touch with all your story.
With everything. Yes,
with everything.
Yes.
And in a way, you get in touch with everything that the universe is made of also.
Yes, Yes, and also because the relationship that you have with your body, it tells you a lot. The relationship that you have also with the external world, okay, the way that you treat yourself, because not always from a practice you get out happy, and sometimes you get angry because you are, or frustrated because you are not able to do some things or other. Sometimes you don't practice ahimsa. You do himsa because you are not listening to your body. You are listening to your mind that is saying yes, I can do it, or no, I cannot do it. So yes, I always say that I totally agree with you that the practice of asana it is a very spiritual practice. Okay, it's not physical. If you are really present and ready to listen and to reflect about your practice, because it's also that scene of, okay, I present myself in the mat, I practice. What do I expect from this practice? And after that, reflect about how your practice was, not only in term of achievement, if I was able to handstand in the middle of the room, if not, how was my approach, and how I treated myself, and how I feel after that, whether I achieve it or not, my objective.
Yep.
You
I
got it, yeah.
completely agree with that. Yeah.
Trying to elaborate with my English. Yes.
Yeah, we have,
Yeah.
it's not our native language, so you have
No.
a little bit, well, I'm kind of got used to speaking English, but it's definitely not my native language. So if I want to get to technical terms, I sometimes I get lost a little bit or caught
But
up.
as Latinos, we come up with something that sounds like, and
Yeah,
we get through, no?
but yeah,
We have that scene.
I like the Latino accent.
Yes.
We're Latinos
Yes,
also here.
that is the thing what I was telling you,
Yeah,
Latinos. Yes, I was including you as a Latino
yeah,
because you're from Portugal. So yes, Spanish, not only South America or North America, it's everybody, Spain and Portugal, and yeah, I consider Latinos.
yeah.
Which are the fundamentals of your yoga practice?
You mean
Your
my
personal yoga,
personal
yeah,
my
yeah, your
personal yoga
personal
practice?
practice.
The fundamentals. Let's like I want to see if I get your question when you say fundamentals. Do you
Okay,
mean
what it
what are
is?
the important things in my personal practice? Is
Yes,
that what
yes,
you mean?
yes, yes.
Okay.
Which is your search, or what it actually
Yeah.
make you
It's
go and say, okay, my
yeah.
practice is important.
It can go through different stages because I'm always when I'm working with myself, I also try to bring that to others because I'm a teacher. But when it's just personal, only to myself, and I would say it's not just asana because I do like to practice other. I did vipassana. I do like the contemplative practices or meditative practices as well. I always liked, and I'm very passionate by Buddhism. Not a Buddhist, but I'm very passionate by Buddhism. And I do love to study. I had a bit of a study of philosophy and religions also. I do love that. Not just like yoga, I don't defend any methods or
Hmm.
religions.
Yeah.
But in a way, I do like to see why, like, I think we all have these existential questions like, why am I here? What is the point of all of that? I'm sure practitioners have this question, even with the practice, why do I practice? And I actually would like to keep them. I like to keep these questions. What if I would die here, not here practicing? Hope not.
You never
But
know.
what if I would die, like in a few days? What's the existential relevance of all of that? Because just practicing for practicing, it is always good. It's healthy. If you run, it's healthy. If you go to the gym, it's healthy. But what makes the difference of doing
Hmm.
something maybe like yoga? I think it brings a deeper search and this questioning. I think it should be there, especially if you don't know it, and that's a very important thing. I don't know it for sure. Sometimes I think I do, but I don't have the answers for what like these kinds of questions. the meaning of life, whatever, why am I practicing? So I do try to bring that. And of course, I do have periods where I do see, I need to, what can I do in this specific pose to do this and that, or to open it more here and there, how one thing relates with the other. So I do kind of play around with relations between poses, and I do love that. And I do love to bring that to my classes, which is, in the end, you're doing something and you're prepared. There's so many ways to, look at just one part of the body and how can you open that in a way that it just gives you space for other things to come. And it could just be the breathing to come, or it can just be like I don't know how to say this in English, when just let the air flow of some compression of tension. No? Yes, the exhalation of tension,
yes,
of anything you're holding.
Yeah, you're releasing, all of that, letting go. Yeah.
If you can get there, these are just little tips, little drops of, or the tip of the iceberg, or just little drops of a huge ocean. I think when you touch a little bit more, and this is what I want with my practice, I want to touch more the feelings. I want to touch more. I don't want to get too much mechanical, because I do have a lot of that. I mean, I studied, like mechanical parts, and the way, I mean, I do like that for fun and maybe intellectual pleasure. I think, like how you place your foot. There's so many ways, how that foot will affect your knee and hip and so on, and how is that the start of the length of the spine, whatever. But that's that I still study and I love it. But what does that make you feel? Well, that's what you're saying. What comes after, what Prashant also says a lot of times, and also BKS Iyengar. And what comes after, and what does that bring you? That's very important. I think we don't give much time for that. And also try to see what can you put on your practice. Why not celebrate anything you do? That's something I think sometimes, and I had a period of my life, I'm still a little bit OCD, and I was too much. And so I wouldn't celebrate anything. Nothing was giving me pleasure. Now I just don't care. I do something, I just feel, I do it almost as a practice. I try to celebrate little things, even in the practice. And it doesn't really matter if it's a very advanced pose or a huge sequence. It matters that you did something. Exactly. And what does that bring you? It's good. Of course, try to see how you react to things. We might get lazy. We might get too much competitive with ourselves. We can go for different kind of dynamics and feelings, but watch that. That's very important. That tells you so much about you. And that's, I think, is one part of my, nowadays, it might change some years from now. That's something I really try to look at. Whatever I do, whatever I practice, whatever props I'm using, whatever I am, I try to do that. And I think that's very, very helpful. It kind of gives you more, it takes you more from the physical aspect to other realms, which I think are very important. And you get in touch with yourself. That's what we want. The more you are in touch with ourselves, I know it sounds cliche a little bit, but the more you are in touch with yourselves, in a way, you rest, you're in peace, you're at ease. This is your house, this is your temple, as it is said in many phrases, and also because Iyengar says it. If this is your temple, just, try to get to know the territory, try to get to know all the rooms, try to get to know what is the air inside, how does it flow, and that, you just have to, Buddhists say this a lot, just pay attention, and attention. And paying attention is not easy nowadays. It's very difficult. It's very hard to get lost in the confusions or storms of gadgets and things happening, events and this and that, because we have access to everything. It should be easy. It's not easy. It's much worse. It just makes our lives sometimes much more complicated, because we get lost. And that getting lost is getting out of the temple. That's just an easy, simple way of saying that if I don't get in touch with the temple, I don't feel I'm really practicing. I'm doing a physical thing, which is not bad also, but it's not really where we want to go, I think.
love it because I feel similar to you. And I say the body is the only thing that can bring you to the present moment. Okay, it is because, as you were saying, it is the current way that we are living now in this in society is that everything is fast. Okay, I call it pedido ya. That there is something that here that you call, and in 5 minutes they bring it. And with the body, you can't. Okay, you have to work it. You have to be patient. You have to reflect. You have to try different ways. So it is actually asking you to be present, to have I would say, the kind of relationship that you have with you. If you are actually expecting too much, you are a perfectionist or someone that give up so easy. Okay, see how you behave, and that will tell you a lot about yourself. So I love it what you are sharing. Um, how how have you considered that the practice of yoga and all these path that you're following on the healing aspect and all that have changed your life as a person or as a human being having this experience?
Well, there are two things, two directions in a way. One is it doesn't change anything because I just focus on what I'm doing with my patients, for example. And sometimes it is true. There's a saying that I wish I could say that in English. I can't. I think because I don't know. I don't know the name of the profession in English, but the guy that works with metals. We
Ah,
say here,
I see the
yeah.
see,
I,
I know
I
what you
do
said.
know,
The
I can't
herrero,
remember. Doesn't matter.
herrero is
Yes,
yeah,
but
herrero.
in the house of that professional person, you have a stick, a wood stick.
Hmm.
That's the same. Um, and yes, it's true. You know, a lot of times, you know, I'm an osteopath, I'm a practitioner and everything, but sometimes I'm not there, and sometimes I do like not to be there. Also, I like to be like vulgar, or you know, not to. It doesn't mean that is a special thing, but I sometimes like to do just, you know, like trivial, common, basic stuff. I like to do little mistakes. I think it's important, and but always taking. Keeping the watchful aspects that I was mentioning before, paying attention even to that, because that can tell you
Okay.
so many things. Because if we get to attach on being, you know, like have the perfect practice, the perfect alignment, the perfect life, the perfect diet, and everything, you get a little bit kind of a control freak,
Yeah.
which
No. No.
I'm a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but I was more, I think, before. And one thing that helped me was to be watchful. See,
Mm-hmm.
why am I doing this? You know, question, what does this bring you? It's not right or wrong. No answer is better than other. It doesn't matter. Just see what happens. Just watch and see it. What does that bring you? And so that's one way. That's one thing. I don't do anything to. It doesn't really change anything. Another thing is it does change in some other ways, because of course I do try it in myself. I always try something before I give it to someone or use it on someone. I do try it on me, unless it's something very specific. You know, I don't have like a adhesive capsule. I don't know in English. It's a frozen shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have it, I mean, I won't feel it, but I do know how, you know, I can work around that, either with yoga or osteopathy, you know, or,
Yeah.
you know, like any group of therapies that I applied. But the thing is, that's changing something in me. And if it's in a more general way in my life, of course, any practice changes your life. So if I am a practitioner, it does change. If I'm not a practitioner, I get in a place which is not a really, it kind of gets a more dormant place. It's like you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to give something that you don't really know. You don't really know by experience. I mean, you might know all the theory, of course. We might
Yes.
know the theory, but it's getting there. It's very important, and that is important because also that it will change your life. It is what you are is very important, because of course we might be very good teachers, we might not be, you know, like so good to ourselves, or we might not even be good for us to other people and be an excellent teacher. and or vice versa. It doesn't matter. I think there are these two fields, and of course you have the professional field. That's the one that doesn't. I mean, you help someone, you get, people will appreciate that. They will tell you it feels really good. Does it make a really big change? What it changes is more your own work, your own practice.
Yeah.
And that's the other. These two fields have to be there, in my opinion. If you don't have both, it's like it's kind of incomplete. You can even have success in a way, but you will not live joyfully. That's my impression. You will not live the experiences, and life is just a bunch of experiences in a way. And if you miss that, even if you have success in your work and you get to be famous and you get to earn a lot of money, it gives you nothing. It's just you will not appreciate that in a way. And if you do your own practice, if you work on yourself, if you have the attention and you're paying attention whenever you can, be present in a way, anything that comes, it's good.
Well, in that case, okay, the practice of yoga and other things um, help you or not, or at least you notice that you are more present, more aware of the way you are living your present moment.
Yes.
Putting it in those words. Now, I was thinking while you were sharing that you play music, you also are an artist, you paint, you draw.
I know about the drawings.
I saw you doing surf, you're doing drums.
It's bodyboarding. So, no, I don't dance.
You don't dance? Okay.
No.
But okay,
that
you
would
do surf,
be my.
play
I'm sure
piano.
I'm miserable. I would be miserable. I'm a lousy
you got almost, okay, you also draw and all that. I also have this artistic spirit. I like to play. No, don't play music. I don't have an ear. Okay, so I can't also sing. But I notice like the practice of asana, the practice of the different aspects of yoga, especially meditation now, is help me to express myself differently in the. For example, I do a sculpture or I do painting or drawing, and all that is like I feel more freedom because that perfectionist that I also have it in me is like kind of I put it in a cage for a while and I say let's explore and let's see, like with the same curiosity that I am applying in my personal practice, it's like I can move it into the other aspect of my life. Are you also experiencing something similar or different?
Yes, I do have a bit of influence, at least from music, from my parents, a little bit arts also. I love arts. I always did, and I studied a bit of arts. I studied music. I studied for some years jazz and classic music, and never went to a professional path with music. I did some gigs. I did some nice concerts also for some years. For me, it's a way to express whatever. I think human beings need that. I have a lot of friends who are lawyers, or they are in jobs that they don't really build something. They don't create something, and most of them they need. That's what they told me. They felt the need to start some art classes or something that they will build something. They will create something, and I think human beings need to do that. We need. It doesn't have to be something big like leaving a legacy or something, but we do need to we need to express what we have inside. There are many ways. We can write, we can paint or compose some music or play. So, and that kind of expression, it gives you, and for me, it gives me, just like you said, that feeling of freedom. That's a great feeling. So sometimes I'm just like not feeling so well, or I'm angry with something, or I just sit in the piano, I play a little bit. I don't even need to study. I'm just, because I studied before, but I just play a little bit, and I'm not really trying to. I'm just expressing in a way, and the piano is just the instrument that I have in front of me, and it feels really good. It works almost as a therapy. the body, I feel it's the same thing if you practice sometimes. If it depends on how you are practicing, it is also an expression. You know, there are
Yes,
people
yes,
who don't have a very aligned practice, asana practice, for example, but somehow there's some beauty in it, that they express themselves so well. And I think we can do that in many ways. You can even do that in a conversation. But there is, we all have different levels of sensitivity, and we can, of course, develop that or not, or we are born with some amount of sensitivity. And sometimes we have more sensitivity in one area, and other areas we don't really have. But whatever sensitivity we have, it's good to express that.
yeah.
I think we need
But
that. It
yeah, we
shows.
need it, and I found it and find it. Sorry for cutting you, but I found it that people are afraid of trying because they say, I don't know how to draw, or I don't know how to write, or I don't know how to play, but I always wanted. And I say, but you remember your first yoga class when you couldn't do Theta Trikonasana, or you couldn't even jump into Adho Mukha Vrikshasana. Okay, so yoga shows you that everything is possible if you try, and there are different ways to reach that place. And you don't have to become a Picasso, but at least
Yeah.
expressing yourself, no? Because as you say, my Utthita Trikonasana is different than yours, different than the other one, and that we are all different. And that is what kind of the beauty of life, that we are unique in such a way. But I think what, at least for me, yoga give me that, open for me that windows and doors of possibilities. Okay,
Yeah.
and today maybe I will not be as I want to be, but I started.
Yeah.
It is a beginning. Okay, it's like my first time that I rotated my leg to do Theta Trikonasana, and I
Yeah.
couldn't even bend enough,
Yes.
no? Or
I
and today you can do amazing things. Yeah.
yeah. I completely agree with you. I just think that in a way I would put it more like yoga. You said yoga opens doors and windows of possibilities. I believe they're already there. Yoga just let us see
Show.
it in a way.
Mm.
That's what I believe, and that is beautiful. Not just we are unique, but each moment is unique. Of course, I'm saying this. It sounds very poetic. I'm not always here, sometimes just pissed off with something and just worried with something. I'm a human being, and I know I do have I get lost with other things, but I do try to get here whenever I can. I try to go back to this, why was I angry, for example, with something, and why does that affect me? All these kinds of things, which it's funny because we can read it in some of the scriptures that mention also some things to do it more with the mind field, and how we react with things in life. And it's just scriptures or the shastras, the language is very old,
Yes.
but we can certainly put it in our nowadays daily living, because the human condition never changes. We might change technology and practices and methods and advance a lot of things, but the
Then
human condition will remain the same. So with that, it's we can really use that if we just interpret it and adapt it to whatever we're doing. Adaptation is something I think it's very important also
yeah.
regarding yoga, because this is a yoga talk we're having, and I think adaptation is something we have to consider, not just with the individual, but with whatever times we're living, where we are, what we have access to, what props we have, for example.
Talking
Everything can be
about that,
adapted.
I wanted to talk about props, uh, trying to relate it to the osteopathy, the how are props for you? Okay, not only from the medical aspect, also in someone approaching an asana or understanding some actions or something, or I don't know. How is your practice? Do you include props? No.
I love props.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I do include props in my practice. I do a lot of props, and I even maybe there was a period where I was a very freak with props. So I was doing, I tried a lot of stuff, and I still keep trying. I keep learning. Sometimes I'm even just, watching some pictures on Instagram or some social network of a student or a practitioner doing great stuff, great ideas. We all do that. Even if we go to the open class, and we watch each other, see who's doing what. Wow, that's a great idea. When I get home, I'm going to try that one. I love props. I do love props. Of course, I tried a bunch of things, even with things that are not common props, but why not? Like use the fridge. Or I had this play that went out when we had the confinement, the first one, the COVID 2020, and I had this IKEA table, and I did a bunch of poses just with an IKEA table. So I think I have it here on Instagram on some stories. It's kept there. I don't know where exactly, but it is there, and it's a lot of fun because you can do so many things. I know I'm sure most practitioners tried a bunch of things, and yeah, props are very, very helpful, and not just for me. I love it, so I try a bunch of things, but I do use it in my classes and even with my patients. And if I'm doing like a one-on-one class or more specific practice with someone, I always use props, unless I don't have them. And if I, there was a time someone invited me just to give like a small kind of beginner class to a group of people in a garden. If it happened, I give it. I don't do it much, but yeah, if I don't have props, the floor is a prop for me, and the wall is a prop if there's a wall. If it's in the garden, just use the floor and use your knee as a prop and use your foot as a prop.
And you
Many things can be
mix
props.
like sometimes props, sometimes no props.
You mean like in the classes, the group
In
classes?
classes or in your practice, but also in classes, yes. They always use a
Yeah,
prop, or sometimes you like to experience without props and see
yeah.
where they
Sometimes I
go. And
do. Yeah, this morning, for example, I was in that place when we had the call yesterday because I just came back, and I didn't have much props there, so I did like sun salutations. I did a bunch of them, and then I went to the bench, whatever was there, that I had just a few things, and I used it. But yeah, sometimes I like not to use props. Most of the times, to be honest, most of the times I use props.
you use,
But I do
because
think it's
like
good to
tell
use
me.
whatever you have or where you don't have. Just don't stop doing it because you don't have props, for example.
Yeah, but like talking from my personal experience, like sometimes I feel that if you're not careful enough, you can become attached to the prop, and your prop, you become
Yeah,
like prop dependent. And for me, it happens with pincha mayurasana, no, where it's like the belt is almost integrated with you on the
yeah,
elbows, no. You will go
yeah,
to
yeah.
pincha block, or the okay, and the belt. And one day I question myself and say, yeah, but why I'm using this? I'm learning something, or I'm just
Yeah.
resting myself on the belt and on the brick. And what happened if I remove the belt and I remove the brick? And okay, I did it, and fear came into myself, and it's like I was a total beginner again. And I say, wow. So I didn't know how to hold my arms together and how to push the floor away, and it was like, wow. I say, I must leave my relationship with this belt, because I'm not going away from it. And from there I started like practicing without the belt and all that, and now it's like I feel powerful, because okay, the belt is there, I'm here, I'm able to go into pincha, no? But that is and so now I'm pushing, not pushing, but inviting my students, uh, leave the belt. If you need it, it is always there. But don't depend on it, because are you learning from that prop, or are you just relying on it?
Yeah.
So that is my only concern with the prop. Okay, is you don't know. I usually love props. For me, it's like a painter, and you get the props are like the pencils and the colors, and you can do art
Yeah,
with
yeah,
them. I
yeah,
love them, but sometimes they become, I don't know, they can,
yeah.
yeah.
Like anything else in life, you can be dependent on so many things. We use bengalas, I don't know how to say this in English, but we use in life we use some kinds of props to help us, you know, and we might get dependent on that. But the good thing, I think, from your conversation is you noticed, you know, you've noticed that. Maybe a good question would be, why are you afraid, for example? And it's good to do with, without it, try it, be wise, because sometimes we're not able to do something, and we might, some people, they risk too much, some people, they're too scared. You know, I'm
Yes.
sure you had students going both ways, and some you might need to give some incentivation to some that are too scared, and put some brakes on the ones that risk too much. And but we also are like that, where we're not different,
Definitely. No.
and it's good to look at that. Yeah, sometimes I'm scared to do something also, but it's the same with life, and we depending on the prop, could be relying on someone, to
Yes, yes,
take
but
our back,
sometimes it's like,
and do our
mm,
the things that we should be doing, whatever. That's the same. I think it's the same with the practice.
definitely. Like Pincha was one of the asanas when I started my practice, that actually emotionally was like so challenging. Okay, even you put me a wall, a brick, a belt, and seven
I
people
believe that
around. Yeah.
psychological aspect is more important to
Mm,
notice. And there's a thing why sometimes, you know, you have a good practice, you're a long-term practitioner, and sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves.
yeah.
It's like, well, I'm a long-term practitioner. People know me for that, so I need to practice well, and that's a bunch of pressure.
Yes.
Why should we think that way? Why shouldn't we do simple things sometimes? Why does it have to be always, you know? Of course, not trying to get to the lazy part, which some people, they just, you know, they rest on the other side, but also don't put it that much pressure. It's like when we go, and I'm saying that from my own experience, you know, I practice next to my students with another teacher, for example, and they're like, let me check here, or you think they are. Most of the times it's like that,
Yes, yes.
and that's interesting. You know, that's an interesting experience to see, why does that affect me. You know, why shouldn't I just be free? I don't care what they think of. I do care. You know, I do care. Sometimes I care, sometimes I don't. That's the truth. I'm not pretending I don't completely care, but it's good to go there. It's just a different territory, and just don't run from there. Just getting out of the safe territory, but with being careful, you know, like being watchful. I think it's very important. And sometimes we stick. I think this might be kind of a trap when we are long-term teachers and practitioners. We might get in some comfort zone, which kind of, in a way, very subtlety, in a subtle way, kind of defines your status, and you can't go lower from that, you know, like a bridge where you have to stay there, or try to get higher. And if you get stuck on that, you just put a lot of pressure on yourself, and just stop enjoying your practice. And that's
Yes.
something. I think it's good to be careful. It's good to give you some freedom, and that's maybe why some I want to share this, because you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned surfing, and so I'm doing bodyboarding,
Mm-hmm.
not really surfing. I did surfing before, but it's something that it feels so great uh, to make mistakes. You know, I'm not really, you know, to be a beginner on something. I don't know if you know what I mean. Try
Yes.
something and just be a beginner. Not saying I'm an advanced practitioner. Not at all. I see
I get
incredible
what you're
practitioners
saying. Yes.
all the time, in much better practitioners than I am. I'm just trying to follow more like whatever I need to do as a work. You know, that for me is very important. Keep my practice as best as I can. But I do like to sometimes just get out of here, you know, just get somewhere else and do something different, because I know that I put some pressure on myself, and I'm working on that, but it's not completely done. So I still have that some little amount of pressure, which is, what will they think of me? And that's just, it has zero existential relevance if we think about it. But we are humans, and we just sometimes get there. Sometimes we just, I'm sometimes there, sometimes I'm not there. Sometimes I really don't give a shit. Sorry if I
No,
can
no, it's
say it
okay.
this way,
Okay.
but it feels good. It does feel good.
Yep.
Just when you
Very
get
good.
there, when you get tired,
Mhm.
and sometimes you just have to get angry or something, whatever makes you take that outside of you, and it feels really good. It's very peaceful, and we might need to. Anyway, we might need to get there, but it's good to be watchful. Just see what's happening. Why are we acting this way? This goes back to the
Yes,
first
yes,
conversation,
yes.
beginning of this conversation, and I think
Yeah,
that
and
is
why
very
we are
important.
doing like I use these kind of asanas that put fear on myself because I think also I become closer to the people that practice with me, or sometimes with the people that share their practice. Is not that I'm an advanced practitioner, but okay, like an adventure also. But when I'm afraid and say, "Wow, I know." Notice the feeling how one gets frozen and can move, and
Yeah,
actually then when I'm asking someone to do something that for me it could be easy, and I say, yeah, but from where I'm asking that person to do this, and from where is that person acting, because maybe there is a big bridge between that person and me. It is because it is
yeah,
paralyzed by fear, and I don't relate to that. I may be requesting for something that is not possible. But if I also feel fear and I also get paralyzed, maybe in something different, I can actually relate and okay and give the time to process that whatever feeling is having. And maybe in this life will happen and maybe not, but okay, respect that moment or that and that person timing. And I think it's important
yeah,
from that aspect.
yeah.
So let me see. Yeah, we are in the time, but let me see. There is which is your okay. You do Buddhist and you like different how we call it philosophies and practices and all that kind of that. But anyway, you had to recommend a book, and I say, okay, this book at the moment is changing me or is helping me to reflect or is showing me this aspect of the life, which will be the book that you will share?
Oof, that's a tough one. There's plenty.
Mm,
Um, well, I do read a lot of technical books, for example, and right now I'm reading a book of Bill Bryson about the body.
mm,
Uh, it's actually a very interesting book, but that's not the book I'm going to recommend. And I'm going to recommend a book that I read many, many years ago. That's one of the books that got me interested into Buddhism, philosophy and perspective. And this book is it's based on the book of the Dead, the Buddhist book of the
okay,
Dead.
yes,
It's not that one. It's called the book of the Living and the Dead. I think in English it's like that, by Sogyal Rinpoche, the
yes,
author. It's a very interesting book, and I'm advising this book because death is a taboo. It's like so many places, sex is a taboo also. And I think it's something that we should think about it once in a
yes.
while, or even talk about it. Because if we talk about it and think about it, which it's just something which is part of life, we might consider looking at some things in our lives, uh, in a different perspective. So
I
that's the
love
book I'm
that book.
recommending.
Mm.
Yeah, you read it.
Yes,
Great,
I,
great.
I love it, and now my daughter is reading it. I love it, and yes, death is part of life and could be waiting for us
Yeah,
the next 2 minutes. And I try never to forget that, okay, that is there waiting for me or for the people that I love. Uh, you never know when, and
yeah,
we are all going there.
yeah,
And that one I think is keep you humble, keep you adventurous also
yeah,
because life is now and you don't know if this is your last chance. So I always question myself if this is my last minute or my last hour. This is what I want to be doing. And yes, I want to be here talking to you, sharing this,
yeah,
but I question myself for like sometimes when you put yourself into situations that just for compromise or be nice or because it is expected or that, and I say, do I want to die doing this? And
yeah,
if the answer is no, I say, I mean, my daughter is putting memento mori. Yeah, we are
yeah,
into that.
exactly.
We are reading some. I don't know if you say it in English. Estoicismo. Okay, which
Um, yes,
Marcos
I'm.
Aurelio and his philosophy.
Yeah, yeah. Can't really say it in
So, but I love
English. I can't
that
remember
book.
this.
So, any other thing, Hugo, that you would like to share? I'm telling you, I love talking to you. Okay, we should keep having these conversations because I actually relate with a lot of the things that you are sharing. And I'm happy to know that even you in Portugal, with all your experience, me here, and other people in Argentina, others in Italy, and we all share that common aspect of the yoga and the life, no, and how we see each other and how we live our life.
Yeah.
So anything?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for inviting me for this, and I do agree. I mean, share. I'm with you with so many things that you said, and I love sharing with fellow students and fellow practitioners. I do that without being in a live. You know, like I have friends that we talk, we have these conversations,
Yeah.
just not being recorded or like live on Instagram. So I do love to talk about it. It's something that I fortunately I have people to do it, and I'm fortunate for that. And I'm very fortunate to do it now with you because I've never done it before. And it's great to see different cultures and I feel it like musicians. You know, when musicians get together
Yes.
and they come
Yes.
from different cultures, but there's a language they can speak, and we do have always a language that we can speak. So it's good to have this bit of moment sharing and such a different points, two different points of the world, and hopefully we'll stay in touch also with that. Thanks everyone, whoever had the
Yeah.
patience to watch this. That's also very important. And I don't know, just for practitioners, I would just leave the suggestion that whatever you do it, just leave space for enjoyment.
Mm,
We need effort,
yes.
we need discipline, diligence, or
Mm,
diligency. We need that, but there should be always a space for enjoyment. That's my last saying.
totally agree with you. Yeah, totally agree. So thank you very much, Hugo.
Thank
I
you.
will share this on Instagram and then YouTube. Okay, will be half because our things go down. But anyway, it was actually fantastic. I really
Thank you
enjoy a
so
lot
much.
and learn a lot. Okay. So thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
It was
Wish
great
you
to
the
be here,
best and
Gabby.
we will
Thank
keep
you.
in touch. Huh?
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye
Take
bye.
care. Bye bye.